initial assessment flat out wrong. President Trump rebuking both Israel and Iran today over their actions in the tenuous hours as the ceasefire agreement was about to start. Though blows between Iran and Israel were traded just before the deal, with the IDF targeting an Iranian missile launcher and Iran delivering a deadly strike on an apartment building in Israel. We've got our team covered it all, from Israel to the Netherlands, where we start with Kelly O'Donnell.
Tonight, President Trump in the Netherlands for the NATO summit, wielding a diplomatic win on the world stage, with the tenuous ceasefire between Israel and Iran still holding.
The ceasefire is very much in effect, and I think we're going to keep it there for a long time.
The president projected more confidence that the U.S. airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, which included B-2 bombers, 14 bunker buster bombs, delivered a fateful blow. Photos before and after appear to show significant destruction at the sites. However, in a new development tonight, a preliminary assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency estimates that the Iranian nuclear program has been delayed by 3 to 6 months, according to 3 people with knowledge of the report. The White House disputes that initial assessment, calling it flat out wrong.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job.
And this tonight from the director of the UN's nuclear watchdog.
What we see is a very important degree of damage. The Iranian nuclear program has been set back significantly.
Still, his all-cap style of diplomacy under stress tonight. The red carpet European welcome, quite a contrast to the blunt and profane way he left Washington today. Furious over additional strikes by both Israel and Iran after he outlined his ceasefire plan.
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.
In flight on Air Force call. Behind the scenes, a senior White House official says the president, over the past 48 hours, had called Netanyahu with a clear demand: no more war. Then a trio of top officials, Vance, Rubio, and Witkoff, were directed to reach out to Iran to deliver the message that a ceasefire was expected. And here at the NATO summit, the president shifts to a broader agenda of diplomacy.
And Kelly joins us now live. Kelly, let's go back to that initial assessment of the damage to Iran's nuclear sites. You have more reporting on the White House reaction?
And Tom, the White House is effectively saying, hold on, the Pentagon is still examining the consequences. Also tonight, we're learning that for the first time, lawmakers have been able to see some of the analysis by intelligence agencies that is secure, and they were able to do that in a secure location. And that is a new development. Tom?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell for us. Kelly, thank you. All of this as there were some tense moments on the ground before President Trump's ceasefire plan took effect, including a deadly Iranian strike on Israel. Here's Richard Engel with the TikTok of how it happened.
Around 5:20 a.m. in Israel this morning, it did not look like peace had a chance.
President Trump announced his ceasefire just a few hours ago, but these sirens mean that Iranian missiles are inbound.
By 5:40, one of those Iranian missiles slammed into an apartment building in Beersheba, in southern Israel. It was one of the deadliest attacks of the war against civilians.
And this is where the missile exploded, destroying this entire floor of an apartment building, killing at least 4 people, and maybe killing the ceasefire before it even takes hold.
As recovery efforts were underway, Iran fired more missiles, this time after the ceasefire was in effect. Israel quickly vowed revenge for both attacks, scrapped its jets, until President Trump publicly rebuked both sides.
Iran is really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land.
Israeli jets dropped a bomb on a radar station outside Tehran and turned back. Just a few hours later, President Trump's ceasefire began to hold. the streets of Tel Aviv sprung back to life. A partial state of emergency banning school, work, and gatherings was lifted. And in Tehran, while Iran's military and nuclear program have been severely damaged, people poured into the streets for celebrations, cheering that Iran stood up to the U.S. and Israel and remained standing.
Richard, let's pick up right where you left off. This may be a positive sign for the ceasefire. Israel and the U.S. all declaring victory tonight.
That's the way you want the ceasefire to go. Prime Minister Netanyahu got what he's long wanted, the United States to join an attack on Iran's nuclear program. President Trump didn't get sucked into an open-ended Middle East war, and while Iran is still standing, it's much weakened. Tom.
Richard Engel for us. Richard, thank you. Back here at home now to the sweltering temperatures. They have more than 150 million people under heat alerts from the Mississippi Valley to the East Coast. Triple-digit degrees surging in multiple cities as that heat wave turns deadly. Here's Sam Brock.
A triple-digit heat wave is hammering people in some of the nation's largest cities. From New York.
We left Florida. We came north to get away from the heat.
And it's worse here.
And it's worse here.
To the nation's capital, where the Washington Monument remains closed for a second straight day.
It's the feeling of like walking into an oven.
It is really hot.
The summer's first blistering stretch, also prompting a very high heat risk at the Grand Canyon and turning deadly. Officials in St. Anne, Missouri confirming a woman dying in her house due to dangerous heat after having no water or air conditioning for at least 3 days. While in Massachusetts, 2 firefighters hospitalized after suffering heat exhaustion, battling flames. As many parts of the East Coast have had outages. Peak tens of thousands in the region. Access to ACE. A second ago, you pulled up your phone. What did it show?
100 degrees.
So we have hit triple digits here.
Yes.
Yes. And you guys have what right now, or what don't you have at this hour?
No electricity.
Donna Masucci and her Roselle Park, New Jersey neighbor Jay Bond are relying on a generator with no power since midnight. At the same time, they can handle the electricity limbo.
The more elderly, older people that have medical conditions, the ones that need to run equipment for their health.
That would be top of mind in a situation.
Sure.
Concern elevated in public spaces, too. At least 5 people needed treatment from heat-related injuries after a K-pop concert in D.C. And a Northeast Transportation bedrock, Amtrak, announcing temperature-related speed restrictions from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Some speed bumps, as some relief could be in store later in the week, though it's little comfort to those suffering through the suffocating heat now.
And Sam Brock joins us from the center of that heat wave. Sam, this heat could affect the history of New York City. It's election day here.
Yeah, Tom, it's a red-hot Democratic primary on a day where some records, temperature-wise, are falling. Now, there was some concern initially, Tom, we could be losing power at the polls. We've received no reports of that so far. Also worth noting, ballot scanners have backup batteries, so even if the power does fail, those can last hours. Tom?
It could be too hot for some voters. All right, Sam Brock for us. I want to bring in Bill Cairns. Bill, such a brutal day. There's so many records broken, and now we know the tropics are heating up as well.
Yeah, we got our A-name storm, but first let's start with the numbers, because this isn't your normal day. Boston ended up going up to 102 degrees, the hottest ever recorded.